Good afternoon, guys. Welcome back to another video. Good morning still, technically. It's 5 to 12 as I'm going live here on Monday, the 25th of August. Are you well? Are you good? How are you feeling 48 hours removed from Manchester City's disappointing 2-0 loss against Spurs at the Etihad Stadium, our curtain opener for the season? The Etihad was unfortunately a very frustrating turn of events. But I think, I'm quite relaxed 40 hours later. I think the frustration of the game has settled a little bit for me personally. It did sting. I'm not going to say and pretend otherwise, but it wasn't quite as bad as I think we all felt it was. I think we were very emotionally attached during that, and I've dived through it a little bit more, and I think there are green shoots of positivity amongst the mire. It's a bog, but there's some flowers popping through that muddy bog. Trust me on that one. I'm not saying it's all positive, by the way, but I don't think there's need for panic yet overly. Of course, I did a match reaction after the game a couple of days ago. You can go and watch that if you want a more thorough breakdown of the game, of everyone involved and so on. If not, you can just watch this video. Of course, subscribe as well if you are new. Give the video a like. And it's going to be a very busy week on the channel. I'm sure there's going to be lots of transfer stuff kicking off. We'll get onto that in a little bit, everything actually. So pay attention to the channel. Subscribe if you're new here. Let's get to the first thing I want to talk about. Let me make sure it's all set up over there. It is. So the first thing I want to talk about is the obvious one. This side is going to need time. It's the season of change. Lots of change in the air, lots of change for Manchester City Football Club. I'm going to try and go back to last season and see where we were in terms of the team that we started and how it ended. Because last season was a very different kettle of fish to this season, and I feel like Manchester City have changed an awful lot. So I'll go to last season's first game, or second game even. Who did we open the season against? Chelsea, wasn't it? So our second game last season was this. Here we go. Let me go over here. And I think we'll see just how much this Manchester City side have changed. So there we go. So that was last season's side. Ederson, Akanji, Diaz, Vardiel, Rico Lewis, Kovacic. This is the second game of the season. Bernardo Silva, De Bruyne, Doku, Haaland, Savinho. In the first game of the season last year, it was... let me have a look. Go back all the way. It was Chelsea, wasn't it? No, that's not the one. Chelsea away when we won 2-0. I'll go back a long way there. Let me go back to the Chelsea game. Where has it gone? The point I'm making is, and I'll get both teams up, is that it's an awful lot of change, you know? There's the Chelsea game, the first game of the season last year, and this is how we lined up that day. Akanji, Diaz, Vardiel, Kovacic, Rico Lewis, De Bruyne, Bernardo Silva, Doku, Savinho, Haaland. The side at the weekend was James Trafford in goal. There's a change. We had Aiton Nori starting. There's a change. We had Reinders starting. We had Nico Gonzalez starting. We had Omar Mamouche starting. We had Oscar Bob starting. That's 6 changes already. We had Shirky starting. That's 7 changes already. And we had, of course, John Stones, but I won't count him. Who else have I missed there? Either way, we had, Doku was starting, so that's fine. But we had seven changes from how we started last season, essentially. Now, you might not think that's a big deal. But when you look at the bench too, and on the bench you've got Kusanov, you've got Nico O'Reilly, you've got, who else is on the bench? There's a whole bunch of new players who've been semi-involved and so on. And the point I'm making is that it's going to take time for the rhythm of this side to sing the same song. Like, we can't sit here and pretend that this is going to be easy. I definitely got a little bit giddy after the Wolves game, but I see positives naturally as a person. I tend to look for the signs of positivity and see if we can build around that. I know we cannot talk about how good Grealish was. There's no point. I'll talk briefly, by the way. Someone in the chat asking about Grealish. Grealish plays for a side with all of a sudden low expectations. He's found his level. I mean that in a nice way. Like he's going to get a lot of the ball there, and people aren't going to be a low block and press aggressively. He's going to be fine at Everton, and I'm happy for him. But it's not the same at Man City. We know that. And also the high line stuff. We've always played a high line. Just don't get on the high line. This is what Manchester City have done for 10 years. Anyway, back to the actual side. We are going to need a little bit of time for all these patterns to find familiarity, essentially. Like, who does Trafford look up for? When you look at the first goal, which I'll get onto, the second goal, Trafford tries to play Nico Gonzalez, but doesn't realise that Nico Gonzalez actually tries to make a movement to open up a passing channel for Shirky, which Trafford doesn't see. These are things that we need to get better at, you know? We need to know where Shirky's going to be at the same time as Reinders is going to be. Reinders will know, Marmouche will know to pick out Reinders' runs if he overlaps him, and vice versa. These are the things that weren't there, you know. City were not fully on the same page. We weren't. And to me, I don't think we can make any full conclusions on the quality of this side yet, unfortunately, or the individual players, until we're several games into the season. You might not like that, but it's very obvious to me that there are things that need fine-tuning with this side that is going to take time. Guardiola will know that, and I think he's right to point out that some bits of the football were decent in the first half, but we lost it in the second half, and we'll see where we go from there. Second thing I want to talk about is Nico Gonzalez. I actually thought Nico Gonzalez was a relative plus point for this game. I don't think he did anything wrong for the goal, for what it's worth. I think Nico Gonzalez did the exact right thing. He actually it's quite a smart bit of movement to show for that. Trafford isn't necessarily meant to pass to him there, but he's meant to show for it. And I think a lot of people, as you can see here, I saw this a bit of analysis from Sky Blue Times. As you can see here, Trafford goes that way. He opens up the passing channel that way, which would then have left, you see at the bottom there, Shirky open. The problem is, for some reason, Trafford passes to his right foot, not his left foot, and he should have passed it to Moore full stop. He should have passed it out to Oscar Bob, who was free over on the right-hand side, or he could have played in Shirky. That's the right movement for Nico Gonzalez, so I don't blame him at all for that. Maybe a little bit slack of losing track of Sarr for the first goal, but overall, I think Nico Gonzalez has definitely took a step forward, and Guardiola said very similar after the game as well. Look, he's not Rodri. Who is Rodri? But I think Nico Gonzalez is, the more I watch back, the more I realise he's very good at breaking things up. He's very good with his physicality. He's very good at stepping past people. I think Nico Gonzalez is a better player than the one who joined back in January, and you can tell he's taken a step forward in general with this side. Look, he's going to be a good player. It'll take an awful long time for him to get to the very best levels that Manchester City require. But I think he's a good player, man. He's clearly a good player. And I think there's lots of signs of encouragement there that alongside Reinders and Rodri and co, this season he could be a really useful asset and be a good part of this squad. I like him. That's positive from my top from the game. He's smart on the ball. He's aggressive in the duels. And he runs an awful lot. Very aggressive on the duels. And I like that. He's decent in the air too. The third thing I'm going to talk about is he needs to be more clinical. Like, a lot of these problems do not come if we're more clinical, not just with our finishing, but with our passing. Like, it goes back to what I was saying in the first point about decision making and so on, just rhythm. But look, the chance that Marmoush had, there was the most guilt-edged chance, I would say. I really like on Marmoush, but I think he made a few poor decisions, and people around him did too at the same time. Haaland picked him out with a beautiful through ball, and he blasts it right at the keeper. You got to slot that past the keeper or dink it over him, but he blasts it straight at the keeper. And there's a bit where Reinders ran past him as well, and he didn't pick out Reinders down the channel. But at the same time, Reinders did the exact same thing where he should have played it to Marmoush out wide, and he didn't. And Haaland's got to be better in front of goal at one point where Shirky picks him out for the cross. Ultimately, if we score one of those chances, we end up probably winning that game pretty comfortably. We probably do, not comfortably, but I think we win it anyway. And I think the confidence that comes from a goal, City play a different level of football at that point. It's always the way, especially when you've got new players. New players need confidence in themselves to trust their ideas and instincts. And I think the City side just needs to be more clinical. And it's not just in front of goal, defensively as well. A couple of poor decision making in front of goal and in front of our own goal, unfortunately. The fourth thing I want to talk about is James Trafford. I think James Trafford deserves patience. I'm seeing an awful lot of people come down on James Trafford and making decisions on him. And I think it's not fair. Like, I remember mistakes from Ederson against Spurs in particular, and Ederson early on. I remember mistakes from Rodri early on. I remember mistakes from Kyle Walker early on and became one of the best right-backs in the world. I've seen Haaland miss sitters in front of goal. I've seen many new signings shit the bed. We all love Kusanov now, want him to start. He made a howler of a mistake in his first game, only a few minutes in. Trafford does not deserve that nonsense from Daedric in the chat right now. Says he's a double agent sent from Old Trafford. Come on, man. Let's not I know it's probably a slight joke there, but this is the thing. Like, I think we need to be patient with a young lad and not make quick judgments on a guy who is very clearly trying to learn the system, learn the ideas and the expectation. He can pass a ball. I've seen James Trafford pass a ball very well for our youth teams and for England under 21s. He's been playing for, just a joke, fair enough, Daedric, but a lot of people actually act like that for what it's worth, mate. But anyway, a lot of people think he can't pass the ball, James Trafford, but we forget that he played for a Burnley side under Scott Parker that it was very negative. He didn't have to do a lot of it. So Trafford has probably lost a little bit of that edge there, but he definitely can. We're going to have to be patient. And the saying that same way we'll have to be patient with Donnarumma who comes in. You might laugh at that, but Donnarumma is not a guaranteed rock in goal. He isn't. He's going to struggle with the ball at his feet too. And we're going to carry on playing that way, if not directly, instinctively for a while. It'll take a long time for City to get used to the idea of not passing it back to our goalkeeper if Donnarumma isn't comfortable. So in the way that Donnarumma Donnarumma will deserve patience because people will be very quick to defend the very expensive goalkeeper. We should be very quick to defend our own, you know. And I think James Trafford is a mighty fine goalkeeper who deserved that shirt at the weekend, but he had a bit of a stinker. He absolutely did. I'm not going to sit here and pretend and tell otherwise, but the thing is, it could be a blessing in disguise. Let's see how he reacts to that. If he can react to it fine, then it doesn't matter. Great. But at the same time, it is the story of this video is it's going to take time. It just is, unfortunately. Yeah, and people say in the chat there, it's the standards and the pace of this. Look, Spurs were good. They pressed aggressively, and he made a couple of poor decisions which cost him. And that's the lesson that he'll have to learn. The fifth thing I want to talk about, and you'll probably laugh at this picture, but I've chosen it for a reason. You might be confused if you're not as online as I am, is that there's more change to come. Now, that picture is Savinho's Instagram story. For some reason, he's posting a lot on Instagram right now. It's a picture of him playing pool with, interestingly, a suitcase in the background. Savinho, you are not as clever as you think you are, mate. That is not even remotely subtle. Maybe it's not meant to be subtle. But there's clearly more change to come, which is going to exacerbate everything I've just talked about. Rhythm, time, patterns, routine. It's going to be difficult. It's probably why we actually need Rodri, Vardiol and Foden back in the team ASAP. Because that consistency that they will bring to the team would be momentous. It'd be absolutely huge. But yeah, Savinho is probably going to go. With his Instagram story here, he's clearly forcing the picture. I expect Ederson might go, which will bring Donnarumma in. I think, unfortunately, for one of Akanji or Gundogan, they are going to go. Guardiola very clearly sent a pointed message to those two players. Gundogan and Akanji left on the bench. Not even on the bench, sorry, in the stands. One of those is going to go, if not both of them. And I think it's very obvious that Savinho, with his Instagram stories and a suitcase in the background, he's trying to force a move away from Manchester City as well. Like, politely, but he is trying to do that with his very obvious messages to the Spurs fans who follow on Instagram now. So to me, there's going to be... This was from today, Aspie. There's going to be an awful lot of change at the City. And that is good. But there's no way that much change doesn't have a downside. This is where, once again, it comes back to us. That this City side is in revolution, not an evolution. It's not a gradual evolution, this. It's an absolute revolution of how City are going to play and the experience. Previously, you could bring Doku into a side that had Gundogan, De Bruyne, Rodri, Vardiol behind him, Diaz, Ake, Kanji, Foden, all this familiar rhythm, and we won the league that season. Doku could find his feet there. But now there's so many new players. There's so many new players that it's going to be incredibly hard for this City side to be anywhere near their best for a long time. There's no grace period. And maybe the suitcase doesn't mean he wants to leave. Maybe you're right, but I mean, maybe it doesn't mean that, but but there's obviously more change to come with the Gundogan and the Kompany situations, and it's very obvious that Savinho, he never posted on his story, started posting an awful lot, pictures of him training in the gym alone, posting a picture of a suitcase. Come on, man. like the guy is trying to, a little bit of fun here, but the guy is trying to clearly get a move here, and we all know that. And I think, yeah, there's going to be a lot of change, basically. I mean, at this point, it's very obvious that City are going to be a very different side, and that's good and exciting, but it's also something we have to be patient by. Guys, just 5 things I want to talk about there. Of course, the side is going to need time, which is the crux of this video, for all the changes. Nico Gonzalez is taking a step forward. I think it's very obvious that he's getting better, and he's part of this team now. I think he'll play a fair lot. We need to be more clinical in front of goal, because these problems not go away, but they don't seem as pronounced if we take our chances. Trafford deserves a little bit of time as a young lad, and there's more change to come. Thanks for watching this. It's only a short 5 things learned today. I want to get out on a very glorious day with my family. There'll be another video later with the transfer stuff almost certainly. Let me know how you're feeling 2 days later. For now, up the Blues. Brighton coming at the weekend. There'll be more videos before then. Bye-bye.